As you guys say hi, I'll respond back. But if you have questions, let me know. A lot of these are going to get clipped because there's some really good ones. So we'll see how it all comes out. Let me just get one thing working correctly. There it goes. All right, first hand. I have these in order of earliest in the tournament to latest in the tournament. So in the big blind, we see a raise on the button. We can definitely call. Let's see here. So we get a 10. I think we just check range here. We're defending the big blind. There's just really no reason to bet. Like, we don't get any better hands to fold, and we don't get any worse hands to call. So it goes check around. The queen hits the turn, and here it's usually the queen is better for this player's range than mine. He can have hands like king queen, ace queen. He can also have hands like jacks that wouldn't give credit for a queen. When you bet right at this queen and a guy has jacks, like, he might have been trapping on the flop, and I don't think he's going to just give up on the turn. It might just look like a raw bluff spot. So we go ahead and bet a little bit bigger than normal. It's about half a blind over a third pot. Usually third pot would be my bet, but because there's an extra player, I threw in a little extra. We do get called, and the river comes off, and it's an ace, which isn't awesome for us. And he can have exactly ace queen, but also that card can kind of induce a bluff. So, like, if he has ace king or ace jack and called with the gut shot, maybe he even has a flush draw, you know what I'm saying, and now he hit the ace. So I don't think betting here accomplishes much. Plus, if we bet and get raised, we kind of always have to fold, and it's a really good bluff spot for this guy. So I checked it to him. He did bet, and he bet a reasonable amount. Honestly, if I was him playing a value hand, I would bet this much. The only problem is I don't know if he thinks he has a value hand or if he's bluffing. I think in this case, he thinks he has the best hand, which means I should have raised it, because very rarely is he going to have ace queen or king jack. I did decide to go ahead and just call, and he shows us queen jack, which is reasonable. I like that he went for value. But if I'm him on the river, I'm going to either go much bigger or much smaller. I'm going to either go 1/3 pot because I don't think this player has anything. If you're afraid of the ace, right? Like, if I had a flush draw and you're afraid of the ace now, you should just check it back. So I think he was kind of turning his hand into a bluff and did it poorly. If he bets, on this river, if we check to him and he bets 9.5 or 10 blinds, it's kind of harder to call, right? Even with two pair. I mean, I'm gonna, because we were so early in this tournament and we were in the early rebuy stages. But if we were past the rebuy, I might have to give this up depending on what I know about this player. But all things being considered, I did make the call and it was good. Let's see. Yeah, next one. My watch is making weird noises. So we go ahead and raise out of first. This is the bigger buy-in six-handed tournament. I had been very aggressive in this one. You have to be because it's a turbo, but also I was correctly aggressive. I wasn't blind. I think the six max tournaments, especially like the ones with buy-ins like over $10, players tend to just be blindly aggressive. They're like, if I'm going to play six max, I have to raise everything and re-raise everything and bluff everything. You just don't. You have equilibrium, but I think players at this lower level don't understand that. So it gets called by everybody all the way around, and I decided to go ahead and c-bet for two reasons. One, this is kind of a hit or miss flop where you either made top pair or you completely bricked it, right, from my perspective. And also, there's kind of a lot of draws here that'll be there, right? Like 10 jack will be there. Now, it's less likely because I have a 10, but it'll be there. So it's not going to fold. I don't know if it's going to jam. Like, if this guy had 10 jack, it's probably the best play for him just to jam because, there's already 15 blinds in the pot. I'm most likely to be bluffing because I'm just c-betting, right? Like, I could just have one pair here. Even if he thinks he's beat, like if I have aces, he can get it in and have the proper equity versus me because it only is 17 more blinds and he's looking to make a full double up. So I actually like it. But then again, I don't know how precious this player is with his tournament. So maybe that factors in. He does call. We get called by everybody again. And I'm not giving up, but I don't want to get blown off my hands. So you kind of got to imagine here. Let's say I had the ace king of hearts, right? If I was a poor player, I would have played the flop that way. Then when the heart came on the turn, I might slow down and give myself a chance to make the nuts. Okay? And when a heart hit the river, I would bet it for value. Here's Now I don't have that hand, but here's why it works. I do have the ace of hearts. And it's very believable if one of our opponents doesn't have the king of hearts. What hands contain the king of hearts? King, queen offsuit with king of hearts, that's fine. There's really not a lot of suited heart draws that are out there at this point because we're betting in a multi-way pot. I guess king, jack of hearts, jack 10 of hearts for sure. But other than that, we're really going to have the only flush draw here when the turn improves. So I decide to go ahead, slow down, and look for the bluff spot. I basically don't want to get off, I don't want to get blown off a draw to a bluff. This is like if I had two hearts and I decided not to bet because I didn't want somebody to raise me and then I'd have to fold, right? It's the same deal with the ace of hearts. It goes check around, which to me says nobody's very strong. I think somebody definitely has a 9. So, or maybe like even a pair of 10s. So when the river comes off a heart, we see a check here, and I decide to go ahead and make the strong value bet for 20 blinds. Now, if I were actually nutted here, I might just jam it all in. Like I might just go for 33 blinds because if somebody can hero me, I think it's an extra incentive when I make it bigger. And plus, I'm basically betting everybody's stack, right? Like, I'm basically covering this guy. It's basically all this guy's chips. And if this guy jams, he should know I'm not folding, right? Now, in reality, we know I am. But this is more than, this is like half his stack on the river. And a player playing out of position who's checked 3 times from the small blind, I don't think is going to hero call for half his chips when he's stacked up. So this bet works very well. And everybody folds. And we take it down. And it worked better because I didn't go bet, bet, bet. Like if I had just bet the flop, bet the turn, and then jam the river, you kind of call me with a 9 here, right? You definitely call me with a queen because it's like, what am I repping? So if you have king, queen, are you really going away? Like I have to convince you I have aces. And these stacks were too short. So like, what am I going to bet on the turn, right? Am I going to bet... like my turn bet to barrel here is basically the same bet as the river, and these players don't have fold equity. I can't make them fold if they have something they like. So if I have king queen and I'm this guy or this guy, I'm calling on the turn, right? Because it just looks like such bullshit, and I'm usually only beat by aces, kings, queens, the ace queen, stuff like that. So if I'm them, I don't think I can fold. But when this river comes off so bad for everybody and I have the nut blocker, this is a brilliant play. 4 players in this pot, I took it down. I was really proud of that one because I recognized what could happen. Now, if the river had missed, I would have just checked. There's just no bluff there, right? Maybe if I hit a 10, maybe if a king comes off. But other than that, there's really no bluff without the ace of hearts. So let's see here. 10-4 in the big blind. Oh, this is a fun big blind hand. This will be good. So we make a 4, and I remember this hand. This player bet super quick, and it was half pot, which, in his early position, this is a weird bet to make. We were early in the, we were deep in the tournament, so I get it, but meh. So I go ahead and call it, take the card off. It goes check, check on the turn. I decide to go ahead and check the river. And I'm giving him a chance to bluff, and obviously when he bets this small, it's just a, hey, if you don't have anything, you can't call. And I decided to go ahead and call. Obviously, I snap called it. I even said the guy could be just airballing here with a heart draw. Turns out he had a weird 6-8. This player tended to do a lot of weird things from there, and I got a good amount of chips out of it, but it was very hard to play standard against him. I think it's just a good example of, we're deep in the tournament, like, what the hell's going on, So I think it was an interesting thing to point out. It's not much to learn there, but I mean, how often does he have a jack, right? Like, wouldn't he keep betting with a jack on the turn because he's, beating the, he's trying to keep the draws out, charge him, and then the jack comes in the river. There's just no fear there. So third pair is definitely good here a lot, unless he has like 5 or 7s or something. So, but I don't think a lot of players at that level bet the 7s on the river. So we'll see. Ace Queen, we see a raise. I'm going to go back to big blinds. I'll show you guys. I'm just showing you at what stage of the tournament we're in. We're probably like mid-level in one of the other tournaments. This is obviously an eight-handed one. I don't remember exactly which one this is, but they're all comparable. Um, but we have a lot of blinds. So this is I remember this. This was the hand that kind of screwed me up. So this player raises out of first, and at this point in the tournament, we have a lot of chips, right? Like we're pretty stacked up. Me and him, 100, 100, 78, 50, 100. Like we're like 4 or 5 levels into this tournament. So it's not early, but it is early. Um, and he should be opening for more, right? So this bet just smacked of weakness to me because even if you have aces here, it's way too suspicious to open for 2.1, right? So the standard on the table has been 2.5 or more. Coming out of first, players are raising even more than that, 275 to 3. So when he bets 2.1, it's like, dude, this bet doesn't exist as an open in first for like another 2 hours. So I felt it was very weak. So I decided to go ahead and three bet right out of second position. I have the chips. I know what I'm doing. I'm basically having a lot of control on the table at this point. Um, the player in third now re-raises me, and here's the interesting part. Because of the way this player had been playing, he had been to the table for maybe 3 or 4 hands, and he had played some weird ones and had a weird showdown or two. Now, that shouldn't color your entire perception of a player, but it is a factor. You know, you kind of learn things about a player in short times, and I'm working without a HUD right now. So it goes fold all the way around, and here was my thinking. I obviously can't call the 17 big blinds and then continue profitably from there. What hand's three bet here that will call a jam that I'm doing fine against? Pairs. Um, Pairs are good. I think we even get some ace jack suiteds that play this way because this bet looks super weak. My raise wasn't huge. It was kind of a little over standardish. So he could be playing a move. And here's the thing: raising this small, it's kind of the polarized preflop. It either means you have a monster or you have nothing, and you're just kind of leveraging your stack without risking your stack. It was so early, I didn't think anybody would do that. So I think the best play, if I had aces here and I was him, I would have just jammed. I know it's 40 blinds, but I would have just jammed because it looks weakest. I'm up against a guy with a deep stack. And in all honesty, playing against that, I couldn't fold. Um, the way this goes, though, because of his raise being so weird and him committing so many of his chips, and me having a hand that has 64% equity against the deck and perceived range, I did go ahead and jam, and it turned out to be wrong. This player ended up, of course, having the old ace ace, and I lost it. Um, I don't see this as that big a mistake because we were not deep in a tournament. We were just deep stacked. I mean, even when this hand was over, I had doubled up early and then won some more. Even when this hand was over, I remember the chip average was something like 25K and I had 31. I'm fine with it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I lose a buy-in, like in chips. Like, he literally has, what did he start the hand with? Like 20K, right? So he's right around starting stack. So he had done some weird ones, gone over starting, lost one back, whatever like that. He was kind of active. So, you know, when he three bets like a starting stack, I kind of just like get it in with him because he's entering the tournament kind of late, 40 big blinds. Uh, I just felt like it was one of those ones, and I made a mistake. I went ahead and ran this one, and if it's a pair a lot, meaning jacks or lower. So what hands do this? Like jacks, tens. That's pretty much it, right? The pairs that do this, that like, because other pairs just call, right? So the pairs that are three betting me, I'm not doing well against. Aces, kings, and queens are the majority of those. The pairs that I'm doing well against are jacks and tens, which can definitely three bet from here and want to get it in. So I'm not doing that great. I needed the equity that I had, but this is one of those in the real world hands. It was not a good play because it was for 40 big blinds, right? Like, I had the equity I needed to three bet jam on him, But I know at this point I don't think he's folding. So my feeling was I was doing better against his perceived range. When I ran it in Flopzilla, I was not, because he's only doing this with aces, kings, queens, jacks, tens, ace, king, ace, queen suited, and rarely some ace, jacks, and king, queens. So I wasn't doing great against his hand in the real world. Now, once this is the betting structure, and there are, well, how many blinds are in the pot? 17, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28 blinds in here, and we're going to play for an additional, let's see here, to put him in, it's about 40, so there's 28 in the pot. He's going to put in another 23, so that's 31, 41, 51. It's going to cost us 34 blinds to play for 51. I mean, we obviously have that equity to get it all in here. So this is where you get to roll around on the bed in the Skolansky dollars. But in the real world, you're up against a dominating hand in a bad position. So this is definitely a mistake I made, and I wanted to acknowledge it. I mean, it's one of those spots it doesn't come up often, especially since we have an ace and he has aces. And when spots don't come up often, you got to review them and go over them, but don't sweat it. Like, if this happens again, it's going to depend on the person's stack. And it's weird because of this is why it happened. If this player hadn't opened, and I just opened a 2.5, and this guy raised to 7.5 or 8, believe it or not, I just fold. Because I'm raising in second, he's raising in third. I know he's going to be committing his stack very easily. I may take a flop because of out of position check raise bluff potential. But I really, in that situation where I open in second and get 3-bet, I think I just straight fold ace queen, especially with this stack. I know it's early. I know the player's not been at this table long, but it was because of this. I thought this was coloring the situation more than anything else that I did something different. So this spot's not going to come up often. Next time it does, I'll recognize it. But I can honestly say this spot might come up super rare, less than 1% of the time. So it's just good to recognize betting sizes and see what they mean. Let's move on. So this is the 6 max. I think we're getting fairly deep in this. Yeah. You start with 10K, so we're doubled up. Pretty much these guys are all doubled up. So we're probably about 3/4 of the way through the late reg period. So it's getting deep. You know what I'm saying? We have 40 blinds. We can still make moves, but it's kind of getting sketchy. So we 3-bet out of the small blind with the queen jack. This player was kind of compulsively opening. I remember that. He does call us. The flop comes off king high. This is usually better for the 3-betters range. But out of the small blind, it's not. Like, out of the small blind, we're going to be 3-betting a lot of pairs, pretty much every ace. King queen a lot for sure. But usually this flop is going to be better for him, specifically because of the king. But we do go ahead and bet, and a little better than the third pot because we're out of position. Usually a third pot is your standard c-bet. I like to, I always add a little bit more when you're out of position. You want to give them a little extra incentive to fold. Small. You don't want to bet like 7 or 8 blinds here, but just a little over, like a half a blind over third pot was fine. He does check raise me minimum. And to me, this, how is this the nuts? Like, is he ever doing this with a set of kings or ace-king here? Ace-king for sure, but a set, I don't think so. Because we're not deep enough to do this. So to me, this is a cheap shot at a bluff and to get to a showdown on the river. So I do call it. I feel like my jack has a lot of showdown value. I took like 3 seconds and then checked on the turn, and he did check back. And to me, that's like, okay, as long as a diamond doesn't come off, I'm good. The 7 hits, and I decide just to rip it. For 2 reasons. One, I feel like I'm good, and I'll get called by a trash hand that I beat, like pocket 9s at this point. Or even like a pair containing the ace of, like, I don't remember his showdown, but a pair containing the ace of clubs that doesn't beat me, believe it or not, like ace 6 that might have played this move, might call because they think I'm representing the flush. And since they have the ace of clubs, I can't represent the nut flush. So the best hand I can have is the king of clubs. Obviously, if they can beat the king of clubs on a paired board, cool. But I don't think that they're going to. Like, they're just going to think that I'm airballing. Like, I have queen 10, right? I could have queen 10 with the queen of clubs. You know what I'm saying? I could have queen 10 of diamonds and had a royal and just lost, had a royal draw and just like lost my mind bluffing the river. But this bet, I'm doing this to get called. Uh, I think that if I bet and get raised, it's bad for me. It also looks super scary. I think we get a lot of hero calls when we do this. And as you can see, we did. Player made a pure airball bluff move, hit a slice on the turn, and then when we make that large bet on the river, it just looks so much like bullshit that it courted the hero call. And he took a little time here. And when he called, I was like, what? Like, I really thought I was beat because I wasn't thinking I thought if I got called, it would be quick and I would win. When he called me after much thinking, I thought maybe he had a better jack, like ace jack. But when he rolled this, I was just like, okay, I guess I just skipped his record, and he needed a minute to make the same decision he's always going to make here. So he was totally hero calling me. He put me on the busted big draw like ace queen of diamonds, and saw it as a pure steal. But I love this play because we did what we set out to do. We courted a hero call from a much substandard hand. So it's a really great play. I might put this one in a video along with this review because this highlights, especially six max, how you can really chip up. Get people to make hero calls six max. I said it during the stream yesterday. Hey, what's up, Chuck? Durf, Droop, Lily. I said it yesterday during the stream. If you went your entire poker career without making a massive hero call or a massive hero fold, it would very minimally affect your results. How the session ended up last night? I ended up, well, I have the information right here. I went really far. You'll see how we go out in a minute, but I ended up 12th in the big one, the 6K, for tidy profit, like 7 buy-ins or 6 buy-ins on that one. Yeah, it was about 6 buy-ins on the thing. I got 47th in the 4K for like $22, double my buy-in, and I ended up min cashing the 2,500 for that. So I ended up profiting like $33, which doesn't sound like much, but I only put out $86 in buy-ins. If you get that kind of ROI every day, you'll die rich as long as you keep upping the buy-ins. So that's the idea. And we had a really good shot to win the one yesterday. It was just a super cooler that we ran into pre-flop. You'll see it in a minute because I think it's just funny the way it happened. So I put it in the review. So 2 big blinds open in second. This is reasonable. Which tournament is this? I'll be able to tell by the blinds. So we're at 10K. Oh, yeah. This is the... which one was this? This is the 2,500. So this buy-in is small, and we're basically trying to chip up because we're at half starting stack, right? It's still very early in it. But we've taken a couple losses here, and this is known for me as a pink table when I'm playing, because when they're pink, it means I'm trying to get the money in and double or get busted with some equity and then rebuy right away because there's value in re-entering before the blinds go up. It's just a time to be more aggressive. We see a minimum 3-bet here on the button. The normal response here is to jam with this many blinds. It's kind of dumb because then you're forcing this opponent with ace-jack to play perfectly. So I'd rather take it to the streets, play post-flop when I have enough blinds left. You know, we have 23 blinds. That's pretty good. We hit a queen, which is usually pretty damn good. We check and allow him to bluff. This half-pot bet, again, means nothing. Half-pot really doesn't do anything for your hand. All it's going to do is get you called most of the time or get folds from bad players. I am not a bad player, so I just call. I check it on the turn. Now he makes a big bet. This really doesn't make sense. Like, what are you repping here, bro? Like, I would do this if I had exactly aces, but I would never min 3-bet at pre-flop. So I thought about this, and I think I said it on the stream. He may have misclicked the min raise pre-flop. and now doing something stupid when he's given the lead. We don't have a lot of chips, so we just get it all in for the last 7 blinds. He has to call 7 blinds to win, what is that, 30, 38, 44, 54. He kind of only needs 15%, or what is it, 12% equity. So he's going to call with anything. I think you can even call with a gut shot here. You might have a pair, that's fine. But he did call, and the river came off, and he had second pair. So I really think he was that min 3-bet after I saw the hand. I was like, oh, he did bet min on purpose. Some players do that just to take the lead away without risking anything. First of all, that's a really puss move. And if you're going to change the size of your bets based on your hand strength, man, are you going to have a hard time. You are going to just give away that information to players like me who see that and go, oh, yeah, that's not a thing, bro. And then we just, make you bluff into us and give us all the chips. So let's see here. This is a great hand. We are super deep. We are super deep in the, whatchamacallit. Oh, no, wait a minute. Different pair of threes. Sorry. This is a great hand, but it's not the one I'm thinking of. Okay, so this is the same tournament. Sorry. So we're right about at starting stack. We see a limp in first. We decide to just go ahead and limp because if we raise, is this player really going to fold? He shouldn't, right? And it's kind of scary, a limper in first. He's kind of leveraging his whole stack with a limp once I call. Because now you kind of got to have a really good hand to raise. So this is a very rare instance where I don't think I've played a pot in a tournament for a limp pre-flop. Honestly, I don't think that's happened to me in the last month. And I've probably played over, I don't know, it's got to be a couple hundred tournaments, which has got to be over 20,000. That's probably closer to 30,000 hands in tournaments. I don't think this has happened once in the last month. I honestly can't remember the last time this ever happened. For a limp, not in the big blind. Big blind is obviously different. We just check and go to a flop. But out of here, I never do this. This isn't a thing for me, but it was such a perfect scenario. So we check and we flop the 3-ball. Pretty damn good. We go check. We just bet a quarter. What I'm doing here is I'm betting to say if you have nothing, you have to fold. But also it's a position that I. So we can get played with. This player has a lot of chips. Plus, if this player has an overpair, like jacks even, he's just going to get the money in, and we're just going to bust him. So, but he folds, and we do get action from the guy with more chips, which is what we want because we're obviously cover this guy, and this guy has us covered. Turn comes off a 7-ball. He checks. Now we go ahead and we underbet the flop. Now we overbet the turn, right? Like a standard value continuing barrel here would be about 2/3 pot, which is like what, 5.5, 6 blinds. We gave it a little extra pepper and went up to 7, and I did that on purpose because I wanted it to look like, okay, I'm gonna make a bigger bet here so I can scare him, and I also have something I can jam the river. Now, if you look closely, if he calls here, there'll be 22 in the pot. We'll have 12.5. That's a 2-to-1 SPR, or sorry, 1-to-2 SPR, meaning we have half the pot left on the river as our last bet. So this bet is improper even for a 3-barrel. If I was 3-barrel bluffing, which I would never do with this stack in this situation, but if I did, I would have bet that bet on the flop and then bet 4 on the turn. So when he calls, there's 16 in the pot, and I have 15 and change left. I have about a 1-to-1 stack to pot ratio. So my jam on the river makes sense and is hard to call. When I'm jamming for half pot on the river, he can kind of call me with third pair. Like he only has to be right like a quarter of the time. So it's a bad geo setup, but we go ahead and bet. He does jam on us, and I think we courted this jam with 1 pair, and I was wrong. He had absolute airballs. Our hand just looked like such bullshit that he just gave us all the money. Like he had to float us with the spade, which this is reasonable. If he picks up a 9 or 10 or a spade, then his float on the flop had enough equity to keep going. He also can get hit a queen or a jack. My hand kind of looks like an 8 at best, but what 8s am I limping, right? Like, I don't think that came into his head. Like, unless I have exactly the suited ace eight, no. My hand looks more like a draw. You know what I'm saying? Like some weird, stupid draw I had. So his play is bad here because of this exact reason. But our betting kind of tricked him because, the flop, we said, I'll take a shot. And then he floated it. And then the turn was like, ooh, this guy's got a lot of chips. I better scare him. Bam, I make the big bet. Okay, this will work. No, he's playing a move. Oh, sorry, bro. I actually have the goods. So that's the psychology of that hand. Okay. That other threes hand, I'm really excited about. I think it was the best hand I played yesterday. It's simple, it's sweet, but it's I think it's the best hand I played. The other threes, when you guys see it, it's crazy. We jam out of first. I don't know why this is in here. I think this is a tilt hand. I think we jam out of first with tens. Oh yeah, that's why it was. We got called by King 4. This was an example of, and this player just called us. Okay, well, let's go back. This player just called us for 15 out of his 36 blinds when we jammed out of first, and we're not, that early in the tournament here. We're screwed, but we're kind of mid-ranging. So this was my example of poker's not dead, folks. It's a little pickup for you. There's still a lot of bad players out there. I often my biggest problem is I'll level myself sometimes and miss value by saying, what can call me here? The answer isn't what hand the person can have that can call me here that I can beat. A lot of times the answer is what can call me here? A bad player. So you kind of still got to go GTO and bet your values based on percentages, not on specific situations that are too hard to figure out. You know what I'm saying? Go by the solvers, especially at the low levels, because that's what they're there for. The game is solved at that point. If you know more about that than the other guy, you're going to win. So we go ahead and open the nines in first. I can go either way. I think if I had 15 blinds, obviously I would have jammed this, but I just went ahead and opened it. I think it's fine. We see a call. We go ahead and make a c-bet. This can always look like an ace. We're supposed to have an ace. And in this scenario, with position, we're going to go for the three barrel. It's right about in line. It's a little bit more than a third pot because the pot is so small. I wanted to make the bet bigger than it was pre-flop. So I just went a half a blind bigger than a third pot. Because the math didn't work out. I couldn't really find a third pot bet. It's like 1.84 and the chips are too big, so we can't break it down that way. So we go ahead and call, or the guy goes ahead and calls, and he checks. I think for the most part, it's a draw, because what ace does he have that he doesn't want to race with us, right? Like ace 10, I guess. But is he going to be able to take that much heat when he has ace 10? I think the only thing we're getting called down by is ace queen, that beats us. I think everything else is going to have to fold by the river. So, even though this board came off really bad, I think he's just taking a card off. Like, he can have 9-7 and take a card off, right? He can also have ace deuce and take a card off, and then, like, the king comes out and he's just like, well, fuck, I could be drawing dead. So we go ahead and bet the 2/3 pot, and this is just an example of setting up a three barrel, and he's right, because if the river comes off, I'm jamming all rivers, so he's right to fold. So I think it was just because of the size of the pot and the way the shape of the bets worked out that he called the flop here out of position, because our hand always looks like an ace, right? But sometimes you just got to bet twice, and I say that a lot, man. That's like probably my most common note on players, is that you got to bet twice, and I have little abbreviations for it. But a lot of players just will not fold to one bet anymore, because that's just kind of not the way you play poker. You don't really fold to one bet on the flop at this point, especially in position, because there's so many more moves available. We know more about the game now. So this is the 6-max. Yeah, we're further in. You start this one with 10K. We're doing okay, but I remember we're right at the point. So what's the level here? What's the blind level? Let's find out. Yeah, 750 and 1500. Oh, sorry. 750 and 1500. So we're definitely getting down to it, right? The blinds are going up. Sorry, I got a little bug on my foot. So we have very few chips. I'm kind of forget this hand. I think it's inconsequential. So we see a raise, and yeah, we jam, right? Like, what's What am I reviewing here? We got called. Jacks. Why did I review that one? I think I just reviewed this one because it's like it's a cooler situation, and you can't be afraid to get it in. Like we don't have enough chips to do anything else, and when we're getting raised on the button, min. Like what's the? Yeah, yeah. That's all it was. This was one where it's just like, why call here? Yeah, there's no value in calling, so just jamming. I think that's just a spot. I think I wanted to review that one, and I did late last night when I was like actually falling asleep. I had it on my phone, and it's definitely a jam. I could have just called it and won the pot, maybe in some other way, if we want to keep our moves open. But I think with so few blinds, I think we just go ahead and jam. Yeah, I think that's a stupid one to put in there. Okay, here's a fun hand. I don't remember this one much. I was very tired last night. I didn't get a chance to review these after I ran them. I kind of just cleared my head. And I didn't run these out of Poker Tracker. I ran them out of my notes. So I went to my notes and I just ran spots in Flopzilla. And then I was like, okay, done. So I don't remember the specific hands. So we do call. Small blind comes off. Or we're in the small blind. We call out of there. We could 3-bet, but we're definitely the short stack between these players. And we're doing pretty good in this tournament at this point. Like, what was the blinds? Let's see what the blinds are. Yeah, 1,000. We've got like 30 blinds, man. We're cool. So I think it's fine to call. Flop comes off. It goes check, check. Player makes a standard C-bet, I believe. Yeah, it's pretty standard. It can be considered a little big, but that's about a third to pot. Is that a third to pot? 690, 280. Yeah, that's a standard one. I'm not folding for one bet here. We got the fold out of the other stack. Queen comes on the turn. Usually a bad card for me, but if I am calling him, I can have a lot of tens. He has more queens. Hey, Nike Max 79. What's up, bro? Appreciate that. New subscriber, supporter of the stream. That's my first sub that I've ever gotten on a Wake Up With Me stream. That's a big deal. I appreciate it a lot, man. Super special, and that's the support means a lot. Appreciate it. It's good to know people are watching these. It's gonna take a while for these to catch on, but I'm doing them every day at 11:30. So, we'll keep going. That fuels me right there. That sub during this stream, that fuels me. Thanks, bro. I appreciate it. So we do take the card off. We see a huge bet on the turn. This is a huge bet in relation to what we just faced, but in relation to the pot, it's really not. This is the dumb bet. This is a bad bluff bet. So the real bet on the turn here should be bigger, right? The real bet on the turn here should be like 10 or 9 if you had a hand you were trying to protect. If you have queens, you're not going to bet that. You're going to bet about a third of the pot. So this is that middle half pot bet that doesn't make sense. My problem here is I don't know this player very well. My stack is kind of leveraged. I feel like I'm going to have the best hand here a lot, and the other player is going to have a lot of equity against me. So I just called it because I didn't want to jam it and have a flush draw come off. The river comes off the diamond, which is probably the worst card for me. And at this point, I'm almost convinced on giving up. He overbet jams, and I know I screwed this hand up a lot, and I feel like he got there on the river on me a lot of times. But I also think sometimes we're just going to run into ace king, ace jack, things like that. He could even have hands like jacks, I guess, but I feel like once the board pairs queens, I'm going to win a good amount of the time. As you can see, Poker Tracker thinks it's 73% of the time. I try to stop in when I can unless I'm working. Well, thanks, Nike, man. I appreciate that, bro. You know I'm on a lot, and I know you're watching the VODs. So, yeah, I definitely appreciate the support, man. It's huge. So I feel like in this, like, Poker Tracker thinks we're going to win here 73% of the time. I think in the real world here, we're probably only winning about 30, maybe 40% of the time, in which case we have the odds to call. It only costs us 21 to win, what is that, 54, 55, 75, so we only have to win 1 in 4 times. I really didn't have many chips left to really take a shot. Like I got 20K, you know what I'm saying? It is 20 blinds, but it's basically a starting stack. So a lot of these things factored in, and he didn't do a proper bet. His flop bet was fine, but his turn bet was pussified. So to me, he didn't have a monster here. I think he may have had me beat, but the river jam kind of convinced me that I might be best because this turn bet should be like 9 or 10 blinds. It should be about 2/3 pot. This ain't it, man. This is under 2/3. This is over a half. Bleh. It's just a bad bet. I think bad players will do this with great hands, but I didn't think this player was a bad player. I think he just made a poor bet. So when he jams, I did go ahead and eventually make the call, and he just showed me the ace queen, which shows me that my own move worked against me, right? Like he bet the flop properly, and then on the turn, he made the bad bluff bet, which I talk about all the time. You make a bad bet that doesn't look like anything. So I called it. My own move worked against me. And here's the thing. So few players know about that they're not sizing their bets that way, that I'm fine with losing to it. So 90% of the time when somebody makes that bet on the turn, the only way I lose is if they made a flush on the river. You know what I'm saying? Like, so my own move worked against me, hoisted by my own petard. I stand by the call, though. In that betting scheme, I stand by it 100%. Just because, unless I'm playing against me, and this player was not me, but he was a good player. I put a note on him that he did it and knew the move. It was very smart bet sizing. I'm a big fan. Let's see another one that I lost. I don't want to spoil it, but you can kind of see it in the corner. So min open, we 3-bet. We have a lot of chips. He's got a lot of chips. We're pretty deep. Yeah, this is the one you start with 10K chips. So here we go. He just calls. The flop comes off 10-10-3. This is typically better for our range than his range. He goes ahead and bets monstrously. I felt like this was just dumb. Like, what hand you doing this with here, bro? What hand you doing this with here? Over pairs for sure. A pair of jacks. Honestly, I might do it with any pair. Because after being 3-bet and then checked out of position, I might think that my pair is good and that somebody bad will play against me. So if I had jacks, I would probably do it. Obviously, if I got jammed on, I wouldn't love it. That's why this bet is just kind of wrong, because it's kind of big. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, we had a 3-bet pre-flop, and I only have 40 blinds. If you want to get it in now, this is what you bet. But I'm never going to have a 10, and you're never going to have a 10 doing this. So basically our hands, this flop doesn't exist. Basically, we're still playing on the value of our hands pre-flop. And I decided to go ahead and rip on him for that exact purpose, is that I believe my hand to be ahead pre-flop. And I actually forget the run out and why I lost. But yeah, that's what it was. So he was doing something stupid. He was basically leveraging the whole stack. So this guy opened and then called a huge 3-bet. Like, this 3-bet pre-flop is not small. Yeah, I remember this one. This is what took me out of the which one? The $11, like 47th place or something like that. So this 3-bet is not small. It's proper, It's a good pot size 3-bet. So we check because our hand has so much showdown value, and then he makes this huge bet, and he just shows us that he has nothing. I mean, yeah, he picked up a flush draw, so he's fine to go with it. But when he has a flush draw here, man, and we have 40 blinds, and there's already 19 in the middle, and we're gonna get the 40 in, for an additional, 28 blinds. So we're gonna be playing for 97 blinds, and it's only gonna cost us 40 blinds, 41 blinds. This is a good situation for us, even against his exact hand. Because against his exact hand, he has 15 outs. He can hit a 4, a spade, or a jack. But here's the thing. What flush draws normally are we going to be up against? Ace-jack suited, ace-queen suited, things like that. So when we're up against those, we share one of the cards, king queen suited, you know what I'm saying? So then the player only has 12 outs, in which case he has 48, we have 52. Because of the money that's already been put in the pot pre-flop, we can happily get it in and, survive the run out. We didn't do that this time, though. I actually want to see, once we get the money in, or well, I want to go back one. So, yeah, so now it costs, now he needs 30% equity. He's got it. So he created it by making that big bet. So if you're going to play this hand to get the money in, he made the proper bet because he can't fold now with any flush draw. So his pre-flop play is trash. Like, I don't know why you only call that many because you're just chipped up to the moon. And he got there by doing dumb shit like this, and I actually kept an eye on it, and he didn't do well in that tournament. Here's a smaller pot. What blind level are we at? Okay, 250-500. I forget which tournament this is. I think this is the one that we also went. Well, it's obviously one that we went deep in. I think it's this is the $11. The other one was the 660 4K. This is the $11 4K. So we're in first position. This is an 8-handed tournament, but we're short this one because a bunch of players just got moved and they're reconsolidating tables. So, we're playing our hand 5-handed, which basically we're starting from the hijack out of first, so we can obviously raise. That goes around to the big blind. He goes ahead and calls. We make the ace. I don't see the value in betting these sometimes because, does he ever have an ace here? Probably not. Like, if he has a good ace, he would have 3-bet us. If he has a bad ace, he would have defended, but betting here doesn't accomplish much. So we were kind of trapping at this point. Queen on the turn. We go ahead and bet. This is about standard for a c-bet. It is about a third. It's a little more than that, but we'd have to bet like 1.75 blinds, and that's just so minuscule that I think it's fine. It's below half pot. It's well below. It's about 40% pot, maybe 35, somewhere in there. The pot's just so small that we have to bet enough where it looks reasonable that we could be bluffing and have a value hand. Like if we bet 1.5 here or 1.7 into 5.6, it just looks so small that it looks like we just have the world with ace queen or something, right? He does call. The river comes off and he just power jams 70 or 6.73 blinds. So he goes for the super value bet. I was thinking about it afterwards, and I know I lost the hand, but I think for the most part this is a good call. The way the betting goes down, the only way we really lose here is to a queen. I guess some flushes, like four. I mean, the 4-5 already made the straight, but I think we just call here a lot because the hands that do this are hands that are now turning their hands into a bluff, and that's hands like deuce tray, right? That definitely got counterfeited. Ace tray, things like that. The kind of hands that we beat. If somebody has ace 3, he's going to check call us on the flop, right? Because he could be trapping. The turn, the queen comes off. That's a little scary, and then we just checked it back, or sorry, we bet the flop. We bet the turn because we hadn't bet the flop, and then he just called it, right? Because there's no reason to raise. Because if I have ace queen, I'm not going to fold, and if I have nothing, I can't call him, right? So you just call the turn, and then when the queen comes on the river, it's kind of really bad for him. Like, it's hard for me to make a call here. Well, it's hard for most players to make a call here with ace jack. Ace king, I think it's a snap because the other player can have a queen, but we're supposed to have the queens, right? So this to me looked like a hand that was turning itself into a bluff, like ace tray. It's like he got counterfeited. He knows it's his only way to win if I have an ace. So he bets, and I did call because I think it's fairly standard. I actually, did I? I didn't call it. Huh. That's weird. I don't know why I didn't call it. I guess maybe it was something in-game at the time. I'm actually surprised. Maybe I was thinking of a different hand where I called it and I lost it. But maybe this was a read in-game. I guess I should have watched this one through. But, yeah, I thought I lost more here. But I guess I lost a small pot. I guess that's fine. If I don't know what's going on, it's better to fold. So that's fine, and I did go pretty far in this tournament, so I stand by it. I mean, he could have just been doing this with anything, right? But I think it's a call here. In review, I think I made a mistake. Now, granted, in game, I may have known something about this player's tendencies. I don't recognize the name. I don't have any HUD stats right now, so I may have known something about what he does. I may have seen him do this a few times with the good hand. That being said, I think the majority of the time, I think that's a call. It's just too often he's turning his hand into a bluff, or he got counterfeited and he's trying to find a way to win. All right, we're getting down to the nitty gritties. This is the pocket threes hand. Now, thing to realize, it's super deep. We're only about 2 tables left here. We're at about 17 or 18 players left. Blinds are, 250, 500. So it's pretty deep. And I'm the chip leader on the table, but not by much. I'm doing well. I think I was like 6th or 7th in the tournament at this point. With 70 big blinds. But we're not invulnerable, right? 500, 250, 500, it's kind of big. So it's a situation where 70 big blinds can turn into 30 quickly, and then you're kind of screwed. But everybody's fairly deep. That being said, 49, 49, 50, 68. But at the same time, like I say, the blinds are going to go up very quickly from here. It's going to go to 1,000. I think the next hand it's going to go even faster. In like 3 levels, we're at like 2,000. So whatever. We get 3-bet. We do go ahead and call. This is not the hand I thought it was. Maybe I'm wrong. This player bets 1/4 pot. This might be the hand I'm thinking of. He bets 1/4 pot. This doesn't make much sense. If you have an ace, you just bet for value here, right? Like, if I have an ace here, if I 3-bet, even if I have ace-king, honestly, I'm probably going to bet at least 15, right? If I have the world, like a set of aces or kings, but here's the thing. If I bet 15 here and you have ace-queen on the button, are you folding? I don't think so, man. Especially when we're this stacked up. Like, you didn't call it to hit an ace and then fold to 1 bet. So I'm going to get my value right on the flop. So I don't agree with this bet. 1/4 pot. And it was like instant, too. Turn comes off a 6. We did float this. I said I felt like I should float this. It's a great clip. I'm going to get it. I was just like, I feel like I want to float. And we did it. And then he checks the turn. And I just go ahead and bet like I have an ace. 21-4. This hand I was very happy with. Looking back in game, it was very exciting because this player could have really hurt me. And I do think a lot of times here he has an ace, but I don't think it's a great ace. I think it's an ace-10, and I think he just doesn't know where he's at, and we just charged him way too much to keep going. It's a great float, though, and this is really the power position. It's a big pot, too. It increased my stack a lot. All right, ace-jack. We go ahead and make a standard open. We're very deep, and this player is, we have an okay stack, and this player has inf blinds. Like, he has 100,000. I think the average at the time was like 50. So he has 150 blinds. It's kind of fucking crazy, right? So, but it means, that there's a chip bank on the table. He calls. We flop the world. We go ahead and just check back because what are we going to get to call us? We're never going to fold here, no matter what the run out is. We're just way too far ahead. We can get it all in on the turn, no problem, man. We got 23 blinds. So we check the flop. He does bet the turn. He bets that half pot bet, which means nothing again. So I go ahead and just call it. The river comes off at 3, and he checks, and I go ahead and now make the dumb half pot bet back at him. Because if you're going to do the wrong thing, you're going to respond to the wrong thing. So I think betting bigger, he folds easily. Betting smaller, he folds. I'm never going to fold to a raise, but if we bet like 4 blinds and he jams on us, it's kind of scary. So I just put in a bet that I know that I'm never going to fold no matter what he does. But he called us and just totally called us with a second pair. And it was because of checking the flop. Playing passively on the turn and getting good value on the river, we end the hand with 37 blinds. It's, pretty damn good, man. We got like a third increase to our stack. Like, we started the hand with 25 blinds. We end up picking up 11. We increased our stack 40%. It's pretty strong. So, one of those ones where you don't always have to bet. I mean, granted, we had all the equity, but our actual hand wasn't that strong, one pair. But we got paid. Is this the bust out hand? No. No, it's not the bust out hand. So we raise 2.5 out of first. We get called twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times. This is a crazy hand that happened in the other tournament. When I re-entered the one that I went deep in, this is the hand that convinced me I had made the right decision because of how crazy this tournament was playing. Like, I had busted this tournament, right? And I was done with it because of the way it had gone. I was like, this is so fucking stupid. And I was frustrated, and it was a bigger buy-in. And I spun a few times. I spun twice, the spin to get in. I spun $2 worth of pennies. I didn't get in, and then I was looking at it, and I was like, I can still get in with 44 blinds. It is good value. Calm down. All right, let's re-enter. And that's what I did. And this hand is what convinced me that I was correct. This was shortly after re-entering. It's one of the bigger pots, but it's shortly after re-entering. So we're all pretty deep. And this is a 6-way pot where we raised out of first and got called 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. Kind of crazy. So I'm just betting basically because I have the overpair and I want to determine what's going on. So this isn't to see where I'm at, but this is a value bet. Like, it's better than a third, but I'm out of position and there's all these players in the pot. Like, if I bet, I feel like if I bet 13 here or 12 and get jammed on, I'm just up against the set and I'm fucked, right? Just fucked. So I wanted to bet a third, but a third of the pot is way too small, so I added an extra blind to it because we're out of position and all these players. I feel like it's proper. So we get a fold. We see a call here for 7 big blinds from a player who only had 7 total. That's kind of not great. Because is he ever going to fold now that all this money's in the pot on the turn? I don't think so. We see a call from a monster stack with 131 blinds, right? That's super bad. I mean, he could have a lot of draws. He could have a lot of 8-9s, a lot of 4-5s. He could have a lot of second pairs, things like that. He could even have a 7 with 8-7. So he's got the big stack. I'm not that worried about him. Then this fucking nonsense happens where this guy jams 53 blinds on the button. Now, I had to break this hand the fuck down. So I raised it pre-flop and got called 5 ways. Okay? A lot of pairs call. It was still early in this. This tournament was super wild. And I was sitting there talking out the hand, and I'm like, okay, well, you don't have a set because you're never doing this with a set. So worst case scenario, I'm up against 8-9 over here. The player calling behind me, I determined was not the most sophisticated player, and I was like, well, even with a set, unless you have 7-7 exactly, you should probably raise this flop. It's not completely out of the realm that you're protecting. Plus, a big stack who's going to draw is not going to fold to 8-9. Plus, here's the other factor that really convinced me. I raised early, out of early position. If I'm this dude and I have a set, I'm just going to jam it in because I'm going to have overpairs a lot. Aces, kings, queens. Why not just get the money in now? So that kind of rang in my head, and then I was like, wait a minute. If that's the case, then he doesn't have a set. So I'm good here. And I figured out I was good in this pot. And I went ahead and made the call for 35 blinds. The other 2 folded. What hand, this is that thing I always say, what can call me pre-flop that will, or what can call this bet on the flop that will then fold for the rest? What will? I can't come up with a hand, but I can tell you what will. A bad player. A bad player will call this flop bet that I made and then fold, getting inf to 1. It cost him 23 big blinds to almost quadruple up his starting stack here. It's ridiculous. And the other player folded because he was obviously just on some kind of weak draw. I think he had something like 7-8, maybe 6-8. He could have had like 5-7. You know, he could even have five. I think he he definitely wants to fold because this was like 53 blinds. So he's definitely not going to call. Even with 8-9, I don't think you can call, man. You're just risking too much. You have too much equity with this many blinds. It's fucking crazy. So there's the run out. The dude had top pair. So, I mean, I knew this was a bad play, but I really thought I was going to be up against like ace 7 at the worst. This is just shockingly bad. Um, you know, I know it was early, but this was my read on the tournament, was that the tournament was good because there were so many bad players. And when there's bad players, you can kind of just play ABC, get the money in when, you know, the board runs out. You know, you flop an overpair, you're kind of good here. And yeah, that pot took me to 70K. I think the average at this point was about 30, and this carried me the whole way, and I ended up being 12th in that tournament out of 400 players, and it was really thanks to this pot and that early play. Pretty crazy. And then, if you want to see some irony, same tournament, 13 players left. There's a pay jump at 12. Uh, let's see here. Is this the same? Did I click on the right pot? Wait a minute. Oh no, I gotta keep scrolling. Okay, different hand. But I gotta keep scrolling. I didn't realize how many more of these I had. Okay, so I make an open. We get 3-bet. We make a call. The flop comes off jack high. It's not great for us. It is a 3-way pot. So I go ahead and check. It checks around. The turn comes off a 7. We get checked 2 again. We bet about a third of the pot. It's a little bit better than a third of the pot, but I think it's fine. Straight third of the pot would have been like 7 and a quarter. I think betting a little more is fine because we're out of position. We're basically leveraging this stack, right? If this player calls and this guy jams, now the betting has been reopened. We can rejam, so it should work a lot. We get the fold from the big guy over here, and I decided that this is normally a great bluff spot, but I don't think I'm taking it. Actually, I don't remember this hand perfectly, so let me see what I did. I guess I did take it. I did take it, and he jammed all in. And this is never obviously I don't beat anything, but this is just the nuts. This is the one where I did the betting structure to barrel and get the money in, and I was representing the flush, and unfortunately he had it. So I think he had a hand like king queen of spades, and I was like betting the spade draw on the turn, and he didn't want to get blown off of it because this player can reopen the betting. And when I bet at the river, he just called me. But I think it was important to realize that we still had a good amount of chips left. We were still above the average at this point. I just lost a ton on this bluff, but I still had like 7K more than the average. So it was a failed move, but it went okay. Pocket queens again. This is the same tournament I went deep in. So we're at 1 and 2K. We get called out of the small blind. Player leads right at us. Kind of crazy, right? And he's leading at us for big. In this exact scenario, I just went ahead and raised because I felt like this is a player who's going to have a top pair a ton and he wants to protect it. Then again, why? Like, I raise pre-flop. If I have the ace-king of clubs here, I'm probably just going to go with you anyway because of our stack sizes. I have 34. You started out the hand with 30. So you're not really doing anything. And plus, you give me the opportunity to call and take a shot at an ace or a king, too. So, if you have ace-jack, I guess you can do this. But I think the better move with ace-jack is to check, let me c-bet, and then raise. And you could probably just check-jam it with ace-jack. And I'm probably going to have to fold because the bet's only going to be like 2 1/4 blinds. I'm still going to have 32 left, and you're going to check jam on me for 30 blinds. I can't call that with a flush draw and 2 overs. It's just dumb. Like, I could if I gambled, but in this scenario, when you get raised, especially not raised all in, I think this is a scenario where people have to realize that they're beat. He went ahead and jammed. He is out of the small blind, but I was like, he's never opening a 9 here. He's not just donking into me with a 9. So I thought worst case scenario, I was up against a draw. And as it turns out, pocket 8s. Because I don't know what happened here, but I feel like he talked himself into believing I just had a draw and never had an overpair. because how could you continue even with aces when I donk into you? Because it doesn't look strong. Nobody's donking into you when they have trips here, especially when they want to get the money in. So he wanted to race this, and he just wanted to see a clean flop. And for him, a clean flop is no ace, no king. Unfortunately for him, I had the overpair. What was this one? Kings. I think this is just a tilt hand. Sometimes I tag tilt hands to run the spot later and see how bad it was that other players did things. So we'll see. So we're in the big blind. We have 64 blinds. We're obviously doing really well in this one. This is not the main one that I went far in, but it is pretty good. So player opens in first, and he has 19 blinds. This player jams for 14. This player rejams for 29. I said it when this happened. I said there's nobody that I want to jam more than this player because I knew his ranges pretty well from what I'd seen. So, of course, we just get all the money in and, pretty clean run out, right? Aces. So we're in the big blind. Aces were fucking here, but that was only for part of the pot. Pocket fives. I could see it. It's a 4-bet. You only had 15 blinds. But we're going to win a nice big side pot, right? There's 93, almost 94 blinds in the pot. Main pot, is only like 45 of that. We're going to get 45 back. It's going to be pretty nice. We're going to make a little bit of money here. Wah, wah. So this is just absolute garbage trash. Raise in first, re-raise jam. You have 30 blinds, and you decide to jam the nines. Like, that's just super bad. This is the guy who can never fold a pair. This is one of those ones where I would have folded the pair, been very happy when I saw the kings and aces, and then, everybody in chat would be like, oh, no, you would have won. It's like, yeah, I would have won, but I'm not psychic, bro. I'm still in the tournament, and 80-90% of the time I shouldn't be. So it's hilarious that happened. But, we win that one. We go on probably to win that tournament, but that kind of crippled us in that one. That wasn't the one we went deep in. Ace-5 suited. Forget what happened here. I remember this one. So it was raised out of first. We just decided to go ahead and call. We don't need to 3-bet. We do have a lot of chips. You don't want to make every move in the book. Plus, this player in the big blind was very short. He goes ahead and calls. We flop the best draw for us. It goes check, check, check. I decide to check so I don't get blown off the hand. Checks around. Jack on the turn. There's 10 blinds in the pot or 11 blinds in the pot. We see a dumb bet, for a little better than, well, it's not really a dumb bet. It's a little better than a third pot. I think if I'm this guy, though, and I want to get the money in, I think you can just go ahead and do that. Like, you can just bet 8 blinds here, 7 blinds. This bet doesn't really accomplish much. I think if you're going to do the standard thing here, you would bet like 375 at tops. You would bet like 3.5, somewhere in there, like a third the pot. And I know there's a lot of players in the pot, and I know you're out of position, but you should just basically never be folding here. So he should have a hand like, he could have the nuts, 9-10, have filled the gut shot to like court this. We do see a min raise, all in, but it does reopen the betting. Doesn't really matter because these players are so short. It folds around, and I'm like, you know what? I don't want to risk these chips with, I'm getting, my pot odds are 3-1, but at the same time, this player is going to go. So it's going to be 15 blinds that I'm actually playing for. So you add his 15 in with this. It's like an additional 11 in the center. We're talking about, 15, 22, 23, 24, 34 blinds. It's going to cost me 15. If all my flush outs are live, it's obviously a call because we have 8 or 9 flush cards. That's rarely the case, though. We can be up against sets. We can be up against straights. Our cards, somebody can have some clubs. So if we have 9, then we're 18% to have the best hand. One pair is not going to win it here. Somebody's at least going to have 2 pair. So the ace isn't live. And even if somebody had ace-king, we can't hit the ace winning. So it just seemed like one of those ones where it was close. I did have the actual pot odds to make the call, but in the real world, these are the ones that you fold and miss a little value, so you can do better in the tournament. This is a Phil Hellmuth spot where people would say he's crazy because he missed value. He missed value, but he conserved his chips for when he misses. And the reality of this hand is 80% of the time, 82% of the time, when I make this call, I'm going to miss. And that's bad. And I'm in a position to win the tournament. Like, I'm doing well. Like, I have a shit ton of chips here. I mean, just look around the table. I have double the average easily at this point. So there's no reason for me to take it for 15 blinds. Doesn't sound like a lot, but it's 21K. That takes a quarter of my chips. And risking a quarter of my chips and losing that much equity I have in the tournament as a whole is not a good play to me. This is a very Phil Hellmuth spot. People talk shit about Hellmuth, man, but look at the fucking scoreboard. Like, if you had a career like Phil Hellmuth, you'd be as rich as him. He's a multi-millionaire just from poker. And it's all tournament poker. It is the hardest form of poker to do well in. It's the World Series where you have to dodge landmines, and he's become an expert at that. This is a spot where we're dodging a landmine. It's very easy to get greedy with this big stack. In reality, we would have won, but look how bad it was for us. A set of eights, so we can't even hit the queen or the jack of clubs, right? So now we have 7 outs. So we have 14% to win on the river. That's all we have, right? And we were up against the straight. So these are just like major hands, right? This guy was in the big blind and just got the gift of a lifetime. This dude was in the small blind. I mean, I think the hand just played out the way it was, but with 14%, like, I honestly thought, the 18% wasn't good, and it wasn't, but I was getting the odds, because it would have been 33, it would have been 15 to win 33. I was getting it with one card to come if more than my flush outs are live, but they weren't. The ace isn't live ever. So I appreciate the fold, and it's one of those ones where you see the result would have been good, but the play would have been bad. If I play great and lose, I have no problem. I have played tournaments, played horribly, and won them, and made them, taken that big chunkage cash, and I just wanted to throw it out a window because I was not proud of the tournament. Like, I used to take screenshots of all the tournaments I cashed. There's one tournament I can think of in particular. I won the tournament for $3,000. It was like $3,400, and I didn't take the screenshot. I was fucking ashamed because I played horribly and I just kept getting lucky. Like, I just Jamie Golded it right through, all including at the final table. Like, I just kept flopping sets and being set over set. I hit quads twice in that one. I flopped a straight with a flush redraw, and a guy had flopped the higher end of the straight, and I ended up making the flush. Like, just horrible plays for way too many chips, like, the entire time, and I was just an unstoppable force. I'll take that run in the bigger tournament, but for $3,000, I was not happy about it, like, at all. Little pair of deuces here. I'm trying to get through all these. So we raise, we see a jam. I think this is just an example of a spot. Yeah, I folded this, right? Yeah. This is an example of a spot where people go broke a lot. And obviously we can't go broke, but we have a good amount of chips, man. We have 30 blinds here. And, like, let's take a look at the size of the blind. The blind's 1800. We have 30 blinds when the blinds are that big. We're doing well. This is the one we went really far in. And it's not worth the risk. Like, we're risking 21K here. What's the best case scenario? It's a flip? No. We're not flipping for a third of our chips. This is another Hellmuth spot that we gave up. I mean, it's easier with deuces, but I think I'm actually folding all the way up to sixes here. I think my call range here is 8s plus. And it has to be to protect my stack. Now, if I'm shorter, if I have 10 blinds, I'm probably just going to open rip it. But if I had 15, I think I'm folding. Where's my open call range? 12 blinds. Yeah. If I opened at 12 blinds for 2.2 and had about 10 blinds left and somebody just jammed on me, there's just not enough information there to really know what their jam means, and I don't have enough chips to really continue. Depending on what the next pay jump was, I might fold it. But I think that's the one where I can raise call with deuces, but it's very rare. And it's just one of those things where you don't want to throw your tournament away on a gamble. 66, we see a raise out of first. A call. We make the call. We flop the joint. And it's very hard to get paid on these. So we just go ahead and check. We're in the blind, right? So we can have anything, but we're also, we have a very low SPR. Like we're zero point 0.5 on it. You know what I'm saying? So there's only like half of our stack in the. We only have double the pot left. So if anybody makes any kind of bet, it's going to be very hard for them to fold for the rest of our stack. And we can even get other players to come along. I do decide just to call it. Obviously, I'm never folding. I'm trying to look like a moron on a flush draw who's gambling. So I just go ahead and I took like 3 seconds here and I checked. Obviously, we're never folding. But I think jamming allows this player to play perfectly and fold against us when they have a hand like pocket tens, which will probably put us in now because we should have a heart draw, right? He jams all in. Of course, we call, and he rolls over pocket kings. I mean, it's a cooler and a half for sure, but we're out of the big blind. I don't know if the player wants to play for it all if he bets the flop. Like, it's kind of meh. He bets the flop for big into 3 players. I can jam 10 here. If I jam 10, does he automatically call with kings? Like, if he thinks I'm a really good player, does he automatically call with kings, or is there a part of his brain that goes, dude, that's a deuce all day? Uh, Sometimes I give him the opportunity to fold, so I think it's important just to stick to the plan. Luckily, he had something that could pay us. That was late too, and that pot meant a lot. So let's see the blinds here. I believe this is 3,000 now. We're at 1,500, 3,000. Whew. So it's deep, man, but we're still chipped up. We're doing really good, really good. We have over 100K. So we open to the standard 2.2. This is a steal attempt. Player calls out of the big blind. He leads at us. Obviously, I think this is bullshit. I think it's weak, and I think he's trying to take the C bet away from us. So I just went ahead and raised it. Why not? So I went ahead and raised it, and he did fold. And it's a good example of like a really great hand that you can. You don't have to give up. Like, what do I do here? Call? Because then he's just going to bet the turn, right? Basically, when we raise on this flop, we're leveraging his stack. We're saying we have enough to call you, right? We have jacks. So if you want to jam 9-10, we're going to call. You know what I'm saying? He could even have like 6-7 and be doing this, trying to get to the straight or the showdown to make second pair or a straight. So when we raise right here, we're just saying, dude, it's your whole stack or nothing. And then he realizes that and folds. The truth is it's not in this exact scenario, but most of the time when he sees this betting action, it means we have an overpair. Jacks are better. But it definitely doesn't mean we're going to fold. And I think that is important to remember. He tried to take our move away, and we took it back. 7-8. Just a limp out of the blind. Interesting. I remember this one. I bet it. I have second pair. Obviously, I'm not super happy when I'm called, and I bet super small on the turn. I was expecting to have to bet the river, but I just bet it twice. And the player was so short, that's why I'm betting so small. I'm trying to make it look like I have an ace. Like, I can't bet less than a blind on the flop, right? So that's a third pot bet. They only have 13 blinds. Betting the turn, if I bet like 2, it kind of looks bullshitty, so I just went with, this super small quarter pot bet to make it look like, dude, I'm never folding to you. Please do something. And I think it was strong. I don't think he really had anything, but I don't want to lose to like a 10. You know what I'm saying? I don't think he ever has an ace because he would have just jammed it pre, but I don't want to lose to a 10 on the river. Like if he has, 9-10 call with a gut shot, and now he sees me betting again, he's not going to call with just one pair, knowing he's up against an ace to draw to a 10 or 9. So it's a pretty strong play. Ace King. So we see an open in first. We go ahead and make the standard 3-bet. We get jammed on. I remember this hand. This player, I ranged him on the spot as pairs. And it's never pairs that are ahead of me. So I said on the stream, this is one where if I'm up against a pair, I need to take this spot because these are the spots that win tournaments. And we are deep, bro. This is 131K. We're basically on the same stack. Like I think he has me covered by a hair. but we were doing well already. But there was quite a few players left, and this one, I know that if I win a race like this, I go far by having this many chips, right? Like I think this one actually put us like it might have given us second or third in it was third. I became third in chips after this one when I won it, but I ranged him on the spot as all pairs, jacks, tens, nines, queens sometimes, I guess, but I think queens. This is the kind of player who will call, see a safe flop, and then get it in. And in that case, we definitely want to get it in pre-flop with the ace king. So we go ahead and call, and the run out comes out good for us, and he had jacks. And this is one of those spots where you just take a gamble, and this put me third in chips, and this really changed the whole tournament for me, and I started being able to steal and have a lot more moves. I mean, I think we were down to like, I think we were down to like 40 players at this point, and now I have 66 blinds. Dude, that's the world. Look at these stacks. I think the average was like, the mean average was like 25 blinds. So like most players had about 20, 25 blinds. I think the actual average was somewhere around 30. But if you had 30 blinds, you were like 12th in chips out of 40. It's pretty crazy. So this race was a big deal last night, and I ranged him immediately. This player specifically, I said this guy's only ever going to have pairs doing this. He's never going to have aces or kings as those pairs. He's going to have the weaker pairs that I can race against profitably. If I had ace queen, I can't make this call, but ace king, I can do it all day long. Actually, I could probably do it with ace queen versus that very specific player. All right, so we see I go ahead and raise here. I flop two pair. We go ahead and bet standard third pot bet. Obviously, nobody folds to this on this flop. The turn comes off. We decide to do the dummy bet where we're trying to get raised. I don't think he's ever got ace king because he didn't 3-bet. So the only hands that really beat us are queen 10. But even then, this was a thinking player. I don't know if he plays queen 10 unless it's suited. There's not too many combos of that. So I think my two pair is good a lot. I think a lot of times he's going to have ace 6 suited because players play that. King jack suited. I said that one last night. And he goes ahead and just calls. And then I decided, you know what? I think I'm so far ahead here that I just checked the river. And you can go back and watch the VOD. I said those words. Hopefully he'll bluff at me with a hand that he thinks is best, like two pair, like king jack. And I remember saying it at the time. I haven't seen this hand today or since I played it last night. But sure enough, there's the king jack. He called us on the flop. That's really not the hand you want to take a card off with, right? Because outside of a jack, what are you hoping to hit? Like if this was the 6 of hearts, then cool. You know what I'm saying? Because then you can hit a heart, you can get a queen, you can get a jack. But the king really isn't good for you because I opened. Like, you can't even value bet the two pair, bro. So I don't agree with calling on this flop specifically. I think I would give this up. I need a heart on this flop to keep going. I just give it up. This is a miss on the flop. But bad players do this. They don't understand the concept that you're not supposed to fold on the flop very often. But there are flops that are bad for your specific hand versus my range. This is one of them. So he didn't bluff at it. We just took it down. Obviously, I was never folding. If he had ripped, I would have loved it because I don't think he ever has a straight here. It's crazy. I guess he could have a set, right? But nah, not the way it was played. Ace 6, the worst ace in the deck. We decided we're just stealing, right? We're just stealing all over the place at this point. We were down to, oh God, I think we were almost in the cash. Yeah, we were almost in the cash. We were on the money bubble, about 4 or 5 away from the money. And so I think it paid top 45 or no, it paid top 54. So, and we're literally the chip leader of the tournament at this point. So we're just stealing everything. We get called. The ace comes off. Good for us. We bet small and get check raised. We bet small to look like we have nothing. I think checking looks like an ace more than it doesn't. So we bet really small here. And we get check raised. I took a little time and then called, and I'm waiting for him to make another move. Unfortunately, he gave up the ghost. I even make the full house in the river. I go ahead and make the dummy bet on the river for value, and he just folds. But we did goat this check raise. Probably the dumbest check raise in the book. When the chip leader is opening every pot, I can even float you back on a raise. Like, if you're doing this is your one move to win the pot, you're going to not do well. If you do this move and get called, you have to continue on the turn because your initial thinking is right. I am the chip leader. I am opening every pot. I am stealing every pot. I'd stolen like 7 or 8 times in a row at this point. I shouldn't have an ace a lot. You're setting up a bluff. Keep bluffing, right? All you have to do here on this turn is bet 8 blinds, and you're going to get folds 95% of the time. Specifically here, you're not. Specifically here, you're not. But he didn't have this read. Because even if I don't have an ace here, it's going to go check, check. I am going to bet this river. If you check to me twice now, I am betting this river. And I'm going to bet it reasonably at like 11 to 11.5. So all he did was take one weak shot. Never do that. Your moves aren't limited to one. You got to keep betting. You know what I'm saying? You got to keep bluffing. There's a great scene in Manhattan Murder Mystery where Woody Allen is confronting they think killer, and he's sitting there and he's going, and he got advice about poker, and the advice that he got from the woman was, he said, what do you do if you're bluffing and you get called? And she says, keep bluffing. That was the advice, and it sticks in my head and it comes up. This is one of those spots where my brain would be going, keep bluffing. I would be seeing Woody Allen screaming that. It's a great movie if you haven't seen it, Manhattan Murder Mystery. Jack 8, this is another one I believe that started as a steal. We get called. There's the aces again. Very similar situation. We check, or the guy checks. We go ahead and check back because that looks like an ace the most. Remember the last time we had the trip aces? We bet it to look like we didn't have an ace, and we incited a bluff. Now, our hand, we want to look like an ace because we are going to bluff. So we check the flop. And he bets the turn. We float it on the turn, because even if you have an ace, I could have a flush. I am the chip leader, but I backed off the aggressive action, and you have a lot of chips. Like, you don't want to go broke, right? So there's that float. The 6 comes off on the river. Check, give up. I just bet for value. Like, this is the dummy bet. This is what dummies do to get called. Or this is what dummies do to go for value, is a half pot bet. So I just went ahead and did it. And I'm not getting... What am I getting called by here? King high? Oh. Babe, open the door. What the fuck happened?
Did he fall off the bed?
He got caught up in the strap. He's probably still in it. And he rolled off the bed in the bag. Look at that. He's still on it. He got caught up in the strap. Poor boy. My goofy boy.
Chuchi's always so special. Poor baby.
And that fold works perfectly. That was hilarious. We had a bag on the bed, like a tote bag, and Chuchi was asleep on top of the bag. He woke up and the handle went over his head. So when he stood up, it startled him. He tried to get up and he pulled back, and the whole thing fell off the bed in a fucking pile of shit. It was hilarious. He just totally ate shit off the side of the bed. So that was a great pot. It's a smaller pot, but the chips are actually good. I think this is the pocket threes I was thinking of, because it's super late in the tournament, and this was super sketch. Yeah, we have 410K. The blinds are, this is definitely it. The blinds are 510K. So we have 41 big blinds. We're still near the top. I think we're like second or third in chips at this point, but it's much deeper. We're down to like 2 tables here. But check this shit out. So we're still stealing like all the time. I haven't backed off at all because I still have the chip lead. I make a standard open of 2.2. We get 3 bet on the button to 6. This is kind of a big 3 bet. Like at this point, especially with our stacks, you kind of want to make a 3 bet to like 5.5, maybe just 5 by itself. You don't need to go full 6x, 6 big blinds. So to me, this screams I'm strongest now, and I want to take this pot down. Like this is like ace king ace queen. So I just call it. The flop comes off with an ace. I decide to go ahead and check, and then this bet. And this bet did not look good to me because it's a quarter pot bet. So I was like, what are you doing, bro? And then I figured out, wait a minute, I think this guy has a pair and the ace is bad for him. So he wasn't 3-betting an ace. He was 3-betting like jacks, like a hand where he's like, fuck it, I'm not folding to this guy. I don't care. I have jacks. I have queens. I'm not folding. This guy has been stealing every hand. I have to 3-bet. He gets his nuts up, and then he sees the ace, and it's like, oh no. If he had just bet normally here, fucking 4.55 blinds on this flop, even after that shitty pre-flop raise, I fold. But it's not what happened. I called it. The turn comes off a 7. We check. He checks back. What would you do with ace queen? This is what you would do with ace queen facing this action. So what do you do on the river with ace queen? You bet for value. Now what do you do with pocket kings or queens here? You fold. This is a great hand. This is a very thinking man's hand. Plus there's the other fold factor. I'm the chip leader guy who's been raising every hand. My range is the deck. So I can have sets, I can have sixes, I can have diamonds, I can have it all. All you can ever have doing what you did is one pair. You capped your range, sir, at one pair. Bad play. If you'd made a standard 3-bet pre-flop, it would have been fine. I think it's a big one we lost. Let's see. It's definitely big. We're deeper. Yeah, we lost this one. So we're deeper here. We're on the button. We make it 2.2 standard open. We're still stealing. We're steal. We're getting deep here. We call. We flop a deuce. Yeah, this one pissed me off. This is insane. So this player has 17 blinds, and they defended, which is fine. But they defended. When you see what they defended with, it's retarded. So I go ahead and just bet the flop because I'm like, if you don't have anything, you can't call. You kind of need an ace. It's kind of meh. But what calls me here? An ace, a flush draw. I don't think there's a lot of sevens in the deck that call me. So I'm basically saying I hope this guy has something because we can get it all, right? He calls. The turn comes off, and it's a really bad card for us for two reasons. Mainly because it kills our action. Mainly that's the problem. Like, I'm not really afraid he has a flush. It's possible, but I'm not really worried about it because I think a player with 15 blinds facing a bet here, he would have just jammed the flush draw, right? Like, I think that's the only move he has. Like, he was close to the bottom at this point. He was like, I think there was like 20 players left. He might have been like 17th or 18th. So I think if I'm him and I have a flush draw, I'm just check jamming the flop. The ace I'm definitely just calling with to allow the asshole to keep bluffing at me. So I'm not really afraid of the flush. So he checks, and I decide I'm going to go ahead and check back because I feel like it killed my action. You know, I said it as soon as the jack hit, I went, well, that diamond's not good for me because it kills my action. So I have to wait for a clean river to come off and then get some value. The clean river does not come off. So now it's 4 diamonds. I mean, we either got bailed out or sucked out on. And I think it's more often than not we got bailed out. Like, because of our exact hand, we're going to win 2/3 of the time by Poker Tracker's logic. But we really can't bet here. Like, are we going to turn our hand into a bluff now? Like, if I didn't have a set, I would have been bluffing. But because I had a set, my hand was so strong to start with, it's kind of like super polar. And here's the thing. If the dude has the ace 10 with the 10 of diamonds, I don't know if he's folding, bro. Like, he doesn't have the ace king with the king of diamonds. That would have just jammed pre-flop. But I don't think the 10 of diamonds is folding here. And for me to do that to him, I'd have to just put him all in. I really don't think it's going to fold. Even the 9 of diamonds, like if you had something like 8-9 suited, you know what I'm saying? Like, and he now has the 9 high flush, but there's the 10 and the king available. Like, there's just way too many fucking calls here. Are you going to play today? Yeah, Chuck Dabala. I'm going to play probably a little later start today, maybe 4 o'clock, just because I have quite a bit of errands to do. And I got to go get, like, blood drawn and all that kind of shit, just regular healthy stuff. So, yeah, I'm going to be playing probably about 4 o'clock today, probably around the same time. You know, unless I just get too tired running around. If not, I'll come back for a stream a little later, 6 o'clock Pacific Standard, just to play cash. But I want to play tournaments again today because I'm playing really well, and I'm very excited, especially after reviewing this stuff. So, this is just to wrap this one up. This is my hand was too strong to turn it into a bluff on the turn because I didn't feel like he had a flush, and then on the river, it's like, what am I gonna do? Like maybe I just got bailed out. Maybe he had, something. He couldn't beat the deuces, but maybe this just keeps me from losing a lot of money. It probably sucked out on me, but I don't see any reason to bluff here. Let's just minimize the damage. And look at this bullshit. With 17 blinds, he defended with 7-6, which is fine, and then called my c-bet and didn't do anything else. Like on the river, if I'm him, I'm probably gonna rip it. Like because I don't think I can win with my 6 high diamonds. Because after the check on the turn, it looks like I can have a lot of flush draws and then make the flush. That being said, I don't know if he folds it if I put him in on the river. So this was just a really confusing, boring hand, or stressful hand that pissed me off. All right, here's the tilt hand. So there's 13 players left. It's gone pretty well, but we just kind of lost in 1 chips. We're kind of doing okay. We are now currently, I believe at this point, I'm like 9th in chips or 8th, somewhere in there. Might be a little bit higher, even 7th. And so we have a player below me here, below me here, below me here, below me here. So that's 4 players below me. So I'm at least in 7th place, right? 5 from 13. No, I'm at least in 8th place, right? So we're not out of it, but we're definitely getting short, man. We've had to tighten up a little bit because of the big stack on our left. So it's not going great. We have 15 blinds though. We're getting down to the final table. 1 double. The payout structure was so top heavy, or no, the chip division was so top heavy. Like the first place guy had 1.1, the next guy had like 980,000. The next 2 guys had like 800,000. So like all the chips were in the top 5 spots, and then the rest of us were all very close. Of that, I was near the top. Like I was like 7th or 6th in chips. I was probably higher. I was probably like 5th in chips actually, 5th or 6th, and everybody was below me. So yeah, you can say I might make the final table easily with 13 players left, but we're not looking to fold queens here, man. We're still going to try to win, right? So, player in the hijack with who we have covered open rips, dream scenario. I said, what's the easiest way to get all the money in? It's to have the guy next to me jam all his chips in before I act. And then it folds, and then a guy with 25 big blinds makes the call. No. And it comes off an ace and a king. How bad is that? And then we have a queen. I already saw the run out, but I already knew the cards before it went in. But ace 10 jams, which is, I guess, standard at his stack. I don't think he needed to. I think basically, if I had the ace 10 in his position, I don't think I would have jammed it, honestly. It's just a little too weak. Ace jack suited for sure. And my queens are not good here. I ran into kings. It's just a super cooler. He went out before we did, so we got the pay jump to 12th. Ended up making $93 on a 1650 entry, which is good. You know, it took us. We had 2 entries in that one, so we profited like $60. And on the day, we only had $86 in buy-ins. Not only, that's right about where I average, $86 to $100 in buy-ins. It's funny, 86 comes up a lot in my buy-in structure. But the average buy-in was $12, so we profited for the day. We profited like $32, which is 2.5 buy-ins. It doesn't sound like much, but the truth of the matter is, if you keep building and building and building and building and building, eventually you're at an average buy-in of $50. Let's say even 2.5 buy-ins. That's $125 a day. You can live on that. You know, you're gonna play a lot. Eventually, your buy-in's gonna go up to an average of $100, and then you're talking about making $250. You know what I'm saying? Then how bad is that? I mean, yeah, it's a lot of work. First prize in this thing was $1,100, and I was definitely doing well. We went a little card dead. I never backed off. I think I got coolered a little bit, but all things considered, I think I played the tournament very well, and I found a lot of new moves integrated into my game that I didn't even know I had in there yet. So it was a great tournament. I was really happy with it. And that was so many hands to review. Like, how many hands was that? 33. Okay, dogs are barking. 33 hands I had to review. Fucking insane. But we did it. And I think it was all really interesting. It was great stuff. And I was very happy with it. I played the tournament great. Floating it with those threes, man. Floating it with these threes. Like, this was... I got to see this one more time. I mean, this hand was so great. Just getting 3-bet and, like, the guy defining his hand as a pair and not being afraid to fold. Like, I knew he wasn't going to fold if I jammed. And then just seeing the ace and him making this fucking puny-ass bet and floating it. And we're deep, man. There's only, like, 2 tables left. Like, this is fucking brutal to do to this guy. And we go check, and then we just bet for, reasonable value on the river. Like, our hand looks so crazy strong. He just folds. It's so brilliant. And this is a move that I had been thinking about for a while, and I've been studying these spots. Matt Affleck had a couple of these spots that he did in the hand quizzes. And it's absolutely insane that I was able to find a spot to integrate it. And it's definitely a higher level play. Thanks for the raid last night. Yay, Ship, what's up? Just caught the end. Sweet, bro. Ship Don't Die, man. If you don't know Ship Don't Die, you definitely could. I'm going to try to do this thing. How do you do a shout-out? You do poker coaching? Yeah, not really poker coaching. You were thinking of signing... Oh, I do pokercoaching.com. Yeah. Dude, there's a wealth of stuff there. Like a super wealth. Like, this is one little section, these hand quizzes. There's over 1,000 of these where you go through and they replay a hand and they're like, this is what's going up, blah, blah, blah. No worries commands, got to be set up a Nightbot. Oh, yeah, I fucked that up. Yeah, poker coaching is awesome, but they have that. They have courses, they have classes, challenges. The courses are dense. And there's guys like Matt Affleck, Faraz Jaka, obviously Jonathan Little, Gripst, are all great fucking coaches. The only one that I don't like is this guy. Don't worry about him. These hands were awful that he did. If you see these, don't do these challenges. This guy's name is Brad something. I forget what it was. Awful. But I have a VOD where I went over all of these hands that he did, that he fucked up royally, and I'm just raging. But, like, everybody's on here. There's so many great fucking coaches. They got like 30 coaches. It's fucking nuts. And they all contribute. In a lifetime, I'll never get through all this shit. Look at this. It's just insane. Like, this is just the quizzes. There's 1,390 entries. Fucking nuts. Yeah, the courses are great. But if you guys don't know him, man, Ship Don't Die, absolutely give that dude a follow. The guy's amazing. He really is. Guy's a beast. He streams so intensely, plays a ton of tournaments, and plays fucking well. I'm a fan, man. So yeah, let him know, guys. I'm gonna go ahead and who's the streamer I wanna host? Matt. I'm gonna give it to Matt. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. I gotta finish my day before I get on my grind. Let me see here. Staplers. I'm gonna host Matt, man. Good luck in the fall. Yeah, you too, Ship. I know you don't need it though, man. You're strong and you got good bankroll. I'm down here in the micros because I am Qui-Gon broke. But I'll see you guys later. Remember, daily streams every morning at 11:30 to do hand reviews, and we'll do some of these hand quizzes, fun stuff like that. And yeah, I'll be back later to play probably about 4 p.m. So see you then. Later.